I just love that intro. I really do.
It's a great intro. It's seamless. It zooms on by.
Zoom, yeah, it's what it's designed for. I guess. Uh, but anyway, welcome back, everybody. It's episode number 129 of Hyperspace Hype. I feel like we keep doing like big finale stuff, and it's always on like the 9 number. It's never like the official solid turnover.
We got close. We got close. Again, maybe we can add some more hyperspace time as we go into the summer. Talking about Andor with our commentaries. Our Andor hyperspace commentaries go into hyperspace hype numbers, right?
No, anything that's a
No?
commentary is not episodically counted toward the podcasts, but they are under the umbrellas.
Okay. There's a stupid fly. I shouldn't have brought my food in here because the fly always comes in here. Anyways, well, yeah, we could do some special Andor episodes over the summer. We haven't done like a standalone like special like we used to do back in the day, the early days of Hyperspace Hype. Because there's so much to discuss with Andor. We're going to be talking about the finale, the last 3 episodes of Andor, how great it was. But there's so much stuff to talk about for the season as a whole. It's like, oh man, like we've had like 3 episode drops, and we can only talk about it for like about 2 hours every day or every week. But some character centric stuff slips between the cracks. Some overall thematic stuff might not be discussed, but overall, we'll talk about everything that we have on our minds here. But overall, this finale was incredible, Nathan. I loved it, and full spoilers for Andor season 2, full spoilers for everything, of course. But I was nervous going in because, I know this show has one priority, or at least the finale, and is to go right into Rogue One. So I was nervous this finale arc was gonna, I figured like, oh, we're gonna have a K2 and Andor adventure in there, maybe episode 10, and then we'll have Luthen. I've been saying it from the top that Luthen was going to die from the beginning.
You did this.
I know I did this. It's my fault. But the way they did it was so surprising. And I figured we would get that. And I was figured like, okay, we'll just get Andor on his ship going to Kafrene, which is what we get. But I like what the show also added that I was nervous they wouldn't add, specifically Bix. I think we mentioned it for the past couple of weeks now, ever since Bix left. And I was just like, will we see Bix again? I hope we do. I fear they won't. But we did. It was tropey as hell, big Hunger Games ending with the baby in the wheat fields. But I loved it. I loved every second of it. I always talk about how like it's okay for writers to go into tropes. Writers shouldn't be afraid of tropes. It's tropes for a reason because they're at times well respected and useful for storytelling purposes.
What do they say in the studio? It's like, oh, it's not a formula, but it's just something we know that works, so we do it every time.
Yes, that show's amazing. See, Studio getting a season 2, by the way, everybody. I love that. I don't think I watched this week's episode. Did I watch
it? Is it still going? How many episodes are they doing?
10? I thought 11.
I think I got to 7. The last one I watched was the Rebecca Hall Doctor episode.
Oh, there's like 2 more after that. Maybe 1 more. But I thought, yeah, I didn't hear anything about this week's episode. Maybe there wasn't one this week. Maybe it's over. Maybe it's not. I don't know. I have to double check.
Last one I did was either that Doctor one or it was the 2 studio execs that work with Rogan going back and forth arguing.
Oh, okay, yeah. There's more after that. There was a Golden Globes episode.
Oh yeah, I heard there was an award show one.
That was pretty funny. Yeah, there was one this week called CinemaCon.
Oh, what?
And then there's one next week called The Presentation. Anyways, everybody go watch Studio. Great show. But yes, I was nervous about that, but the Bix ending, I was so happy that we got. Really loved it. But yeah, what were your overall thoughts in here, Nathan?
Well, you saw my big tweet. I was like, "Don't kill everyone," and then immediately after episode 10, I was like, "No!" I shouted. Well, yeah. So I did my stream. I think that was the most glassy-eyed. That's the longest I've ran glassy-eyed for like 2 straight hours watching these 3 episodes with everything that they were introducing. I was so dialed in. I was in love with the urgency of everything, right? Because it's all coming together, and like it's starting off. Rogue One is the panic of like, hey, there's this super weapon that's being developed, and we need to know how to stop it. And it's, we've had the building blocks for the Death Star set up throughout season 1 and 2. So to get the ball rolling on the urgency of realizing what it is that's coming, not 100% because they don't fully know until the beginning of Rogue One that it's a planet killer level weapon, but they know it's something gigantic, that it is a weapon, and that they need to stop it because it's about ready. So the panic settling in of like the boulder running down the hill of urgency that we need to lock in, and it's especially captivating because even though we have like as best as we can get of a rebellion right now, we're not seeing eye to eye on the issue, and we're running into the same roadblocks you would run into just being in the Senate as well. It's just we're not fully together, and funny enough, it ends up taking a team of rebels to kickstart off the fight we need to join to ultimately lead to the Death Star's destruction.
Yeah, I agree. I think this was one of the most like intense and focused finale, or trio of episodes, arcs, I should say.
It's the most focused and simultaneously still personal level of it all during the urgency, because it's ultimately focused like Luthen to Clea to Cassian delivering the information.
Yeah, I was watching this in real time, and people watching this podcast, I'm not the biggest Rogue One fan, and when Clea was delivering this information, I was like, I don't watch a lot of Rogue One, so I can't tell if like, does Clea survive this? Does she have to survive this for Rogue One to make sense, or does in Rogue One do they already know about the Death Star plans? Is it because of Clea? I was like, I couldn't really tell, so it did keep a good sense of intrigue going in. I was like, is Clea going to survive this? Because when she was doing some of the hospital run, I was like, how did she get out of this? But I was very happy that she did, and that her message did continue, and that she got to live as well. And it made sense. And then having watched the first few minutes of Rogue One, I'm like, okay, everything does track. Everything does make sense here. So that was good.
Yeah, totally. There's a number of survivors left on Yavin that I'm like, well, they're not in the movie, but I'm happy they're alive. Hopefully they don't die off screen on Scarif or something.
Is there a lot like we have Vel, Clea?
Vel, Clea, Wim.
Oh, Wilmon, yeah.
Wilmot, yeah. Those three, and yeah, everybody else, like I know Melshi doesn't make it in Rogue One. Now there's Cassian or K2.
When does Melshi die in Rogue One? Who is he in Rogue One?
He's around. Like Cassian's like familiar with him in Rogue One already. He's not like a super introduced character. He's a background rebel that gets a few minutes of screen time. Like he's popping up like during battle. I think he's down on the ground outside of the base. He's either around Bodhi's team or he's around. I think he's fighting with Chirrut and Baze in the forest of the beach.
Okay, and then he probably dies there or something like that. Okay.
Yeah, during the. I think he's helping them get to the master switch for the antenna.
Okay, got it. Yeah, Jalen and I were considering watching Rogue One again, see how we think about it this weekend. I wanted to watch the first few minutes of Rogue One to see like what happens on Kafrene again. And yeah, it's in line. It's nice.
I was getting in line. I was like, I wasn't familiar with the name of Cassian's informant, so I was like, does that translate to Rogue One? And yeah, it's the same name. It's like, okay, this is this guy that he shoots.
As soon as I heard Tivik, I'm like, I don't know much about Rogue One, but I do remember Tivik sounds like a little bit of a spy. So that was a guy that was at the beginning of Rogue One acting all nervous and scared. And yeah, Rogue One does start with that intensity, and I love how Andor also starts off with this huge amount of intensity. But so yeah, let's start here with episode 10. Let's break everything down here. And this is crazy. This gets crazy because again, I thought the final episode will say goodbye to Luthen, and it'll be a good, somber, but triumphant moment for the guy that helped restart or start the Rebel Alliance.
Yeah.
But Nathan, and Tony Gilroy is a madman. A madman. He's like, you know what? Final arc, first few minutes, goodbye, Luthen. What?
Oh,
What?
wait. So you know me, I'm a professional dumbass when it comes to plot prediction. Because, you always call, like, as soon as somebody said this thing, I knew their fate was sealed, and I'm always like, I'm hopeful for the future.
But
the whole time. Well, no, it's like I was taken aback by the fact that they are actually like resuscitating Luthen and keeping him on life support in a hospital.
Mm-hmm.
So in my brain, I'm like, oh, it's a misdirect. Maybe he's surviving this. And the whole time Clea's going through the hospital, I'm legit thinking, how is she gonna get Luthen out of this hospital? But as soon as she walks in, I see like the large pump from the ceiling that he has to stay connected to. I'm like, oh, there's no escaping this, is there?
Yeah, there's no coming back from this one. I knew like she was going to be successful at that point. It was a wrap. But I love how urgent it all is here. We get the beeping signal at the beginning. Clea wakes up and sees the signal, and I'm like, oh, this is a bad sign here. But Nathan, I know you discredit yourself, but like,
I did pick up when he's like, I think we used up all the
yeah, come on, that was like,
there I was like, all right, well, it's
the red flag is waving.
Yeah, it's a big red flag. Even though I'm hopeful, like maybe there's a way out, or at least he goes down swinging.
But, he is king. I bet Stellan must be so happy to get a character like Luthen, because if he's reading the script, he's like, Luthen gets all the best like liners. I think we used up all the perfect. I'm like, come on, that's so good. It's so good. It was just so shocking seeing Luthen out in the open as he talks to Lonnie on the bench here. And Lonnie, Nathan, unsung hero of this series, of the rebellion as a whole. This show has always taught us, and this show, and on top of like Rebels and other media throughout this period between Revenge of the Sith and New Hope, these little acts of rebellion spiraling into bigger, senses of heroism and justice here. We see it in the Jedi Survivor games. We saw it in Rebels a lot. And we see here with an individual character like Lonnie, who managed to steal like a Dedra's credential certificate. I think he said cred cert, something like that.
Which he had apparently for like a year.
Yeah, he had it throughout the time gap that we missed. And again, this is part of the show where I'm just like, man, these time gaps are a little bit annoying, because I would have loved to see like the discovery process of Lonnie doing this.
The tension of him going through files and running out of time.
Exactly. I would have loved seeing that leading up to this. There's also some moments in this finale where I'm like, man, I would have loved to see this or see more. Like Mon Mothma, this arc. I was like, we got Mon Mothma escaping, but I wanted to see her more of a leader in this show. We see her escaping. She gets to Yavin, and it's just her talking with the other rebel leaders. I want to see her, post speech and just hanging out with the rebels more, soak it in more. But again, my only qualm for this series is that I just want more of everything. I want more character interactions and stuff.
Totally.
But Lonnie sees a message, and then this is so fascinating because Lonnie is so like, he's sweating bullets. He's like, I will die for this information. He starts talking about like Galen Erso, ships over Jeddah. And Jeddah was so important because when Jeddah was like the first big like testing site explosion or whatever. Jeddah was used for something else, right?
In regards to Rogue One.
Yeah,
they're mining kyber crystals for the power source to the Death Star, in conjunction with the power they've got from Gorman. So all combining together, and then they end up doing their initial test to destroy the city of Jeddah, which proves to Tarkin, okay, this works. I'm stealing the credit from Krennic.
Yeah. So that was really fascinating, and Luthen's absorbing this, and he's like, I've been Lonnie's like, I've been at this for so long, like my family's out hiding, just get me a ticket out of here, please. And Luthen's like, okay, yeah, sure. And
so once again, me falling into what is being spoken. When Luthen told Lonnie he would get him to Yavin, I was like, oh, you willingly spilled that information. Like, I was just under the impression, like, okay, we're in the desperate times. We got to get the ball rolling. It's full steam ahead, Yavin, with this information. All right, yeah, cool. Lonnie's making it out, I believed.
Yeah, that was shocking. I mean, I had this. I think everybody watching this, as soon as Luthen utters the word Yavin, I'm like, whoa, like, you said the secret word.
You could have said any curveball planet. There's hundreds. And you just went Yavin. So, which is why I was like, oh shit, he's like seriously helping Lonnie.
Right? As soon as he said that, I was like, wait, that makes, like, I was shocked and confused. I was like, wait, why would Luthen say that? I was like, that's wild. But like you, I'm like, okay, maybe he's just like locked in on saving Lonnie. Cut to dead on a bench like Assassin's Creed game. And I'm just like, damn, that's cold. But it makes sense. So it's like, as soon as you utter the word Yavin, you got to go. Because if you get caught, Yavin's done for. So yeah, it gave him that glimpse of hope for Lonnie. Sorry,
man. His wife and child are in hiding. They don't know.
But at least they're alive.
I guess knowing Lonnie's dead, they have no reason to continue the hunt. So I guess they're safe technically.
Yeah, they're all safe. Also, I'll put in my notes, but Star Wars Explained said maybe Lonnie discovered Dedra's certificate by getting close to Hirt, Dedra's assistant who took over the Access Project. Because they had a very close relationship this season as a whole. A lot of scene between him and Hirt.
Boy, the arc between Hirt and Dedra has been really interesting.
Really interesting. This whole show has been about these proteges, or this arc was about proteges. Luthen dies and Kleia takes over. Dedra goes to prison and Hirt takes over. Some about their followers continuing, their legacy. One much more better than the other. So I do like that, seeing more of these side characters, even though Kleia has always been a main character for the show. But yeah, it gets so emotional here as they get information. Luthen goes back to the shop with Kleia, and it's that one final goodbye scene that isn't a goodbye scene.
Or they don't even get back to the shop together. They're in the streets.
They're in the streets, and he's like, she pleads that she be the one to kind of
do the burn.
He's like, I'll do it. Move, basically. It's time to move. It's time to get out. Which gets more impact in the flashback where we see when I say move.
I absolutely do love that. I also love when we do cut to Kleia, her panicked urgency of memorization for all the clues, the important bullet points memorized for this information that Lonnie's given to us. That's ultimately leads to the Death Star.
Yeah, it's giving big Northman vibes, or Game of Thrones, just I'll kill you. It's so they start listing off names and stuff like that. It's very funny. And this one, I cannot be a spy, because as soon as he said Urso, Jeddah, Kyber Crystal, it's I'd be write this down for me, please. I'd be terrible. But thank God Kleia is there. And yeah, it was very emotional as she's memorizing line, but also worried about Luthen's safety inwardly. She's not saying that, but she's it's kind of a suicide job to go back to the shop now. They kind of know about us now, right? That's a sense of danger. And that's the danger I got during the Lonnie conversation, where I'm like, man, is Dedra on to Luthen now? Lonnie's giving out all this information. They're so out in the open. How soon is this going to happen? But boom. Again, I just did not expect it. And I really wanted to rewatch this scene, but didn't have time. But here we go. Luthen is at the shop, disintegrating a lot of the radio signals and radio transmissions that they've had established over the years. He doesn't get fully through. He gets halfway, but most of it, 80% of it's done.
It spills over and
can't really track it. Doorbell rings and it's Santa Claus. No, I'm kidding. It's Dedra, and it's so depressing. And I'm just like, oh wow, this is it. And it's so weird seeing characters. I love this in any show, seeing characters that you love on both sides interact for the first time. This was crazy. This was amazing. It's kind of like not as intense, decidedly not as intense as Andor and Cyril's meeting during the chaos of Gorman. But this was just as intense with the quiet tension of their dialogue, with their masks, still on a little bit. Like, oh, what do you want to see? It's like, what do you have in here that's real? It's like, oh, there's like 2 things in here that might not be real. Like,
which is them.
I loved it. I loved all like the hidden jabs and everything. And man, what do you think of this entire scene, Nathan?
I love. Luthen's fully aware, like this is like the top person that you need to convince, but like he plays it so smooth, like no sense of dip in the performance whatsoever. He's just like, she asked, like, is this the real one? He's like, we don't know.
We don't know.
He's so locked in. But then as soon as she pulls out the star chart,
the star
from
path,
from the first arc, I was like, I was like, all right, it's a wrap. Like there's maybe a 1% chance she's genuinely oblivious, but that's just my hope of talking.
Yeah, I think Luthen is thinking the same thing. It's like, maybe she's oblivious and I can walk out of here, but like,
yeah, you can't immediately fold. You gotta wait.
Yeah, because she could have just been like, oh, okay, walked out, and Luthen could have dipped. I would have loved that scenario. Would Luthen have ever gone to Yavin if he survived this?
I think yes. Deliver, well, at least like he has to send some word. So either he sends Clea while he tries to find a different place to head to, even though again the chops burn, so you got to like start from scratch anyway.
Yeah, Andor comes either way, I think, to save them, and I think he might just send Clea to Yavin. He might just go off somewhere else. I don't know if he's coming to Yavin. He's so like hard headed, but also like it's so interesting. I don't know.
Or at the very least, like he joins Clea in sending the distress signal in the hideout, and then I think 100% he sends Clea with them.
I would love to ask Gilroy his thoughts. Like, what do you think would have happened if Luthen stayed alive? Would he have gone to Yavin? Would he have seen the fruit of his labor?
That said, I think Luthen is always a guy who's like 2 steps ahead. So I think it was probably purposeful of all the artifacts to showcase to Dedra that he chose the knife one.
Oh, 1000%. Again, when she enters the building, he knows. When he came back in general, he kind of knew it was a suicide. Not suicide, but just like one last final mission. And yeah, he knew with a knife, he was like, this is my get out of jail card. Like this is it.
They won't get me to talk.
Oh yeah, like there's no way they get Luthen to talk. Even if he wasn't, on the edge of death, he'd have been like, just kill me. There's no way you get anything from me. But with the Empire, they have so much crazy technology, you can never underestimate their torture methods. But this was great. And again, I wanted to rewatch this scene because there's some great dialogue here. I'm gonna paraphrase though, but when she says like, you disgust me. You see, the whole galaxy will disgust you. Like, free, that's the power of freedom, or something like that.
Yeah, I did retweet the quote.
Oh, please tell me if you can find it.
Real quick, right here. Yeah, he said, "You're too late. The rebellion isn't here anymore. It's flown away. It's everywhere now. There's a whole galaxy out there waiting to disgust you."
So delicious. And I love his like delivery there. It's like whimsical. The galaxy had flown away. Like it's like
flown away.
Like it's on me. Like, you capturing me at this point means nothing. Like, I'm not Mon Mothma. The rebellion doesn't need me anymore. Like, I've done my piece. And even without this information, which is like the shooting gun of Luthen's legacy, like the whole Death Star information, that's like Luthen's last like breath of impact. But even without that, like, as Andor says later on, the stepping stones that he helped create with his risky, dangerous, dark maneuvers wouldn't have gotten us to where we are now.
He's like the interconnected wires of the grand machine that you power. But even if those wires are cut, the data has already been sent.
It's so fascinating. I'll just talk about Luthen now before we get to his death scene in general. But like, I think this is one of my all-time favorite characters in not just in Star Wars, but just like, I think it is. I can confidently say and I loved how this arc in general like emphasized everything about Luthen, his flaws, his heroism, and his legacy, all cemented around this arc. It's everything I ever wanted. And again, I can confidently say he's one of my favorite characters in fiction ever because of his like, not just his seediness, but his like necessity to an entity in the rebellion that we always idealized as being so like heroic, and they are. But the show Andor really went deep into discussing like the necessary underbelly of the rebellion that we haven't really seen before. And it kind of started with Rogue One, the way that Andor, a hero, just shoots Tivik in the first few minutes of Rogue One. You're like, wow, like he just shot the messenger. That's kind of cold. And we see the impact of like that cold nature through Luthen, who was very cold, calculated, and at times very like harsh and like again dark. We discussed last week about the whole burning brightly of Gorman. Now he couldn't have considered or possibly considered a huge massacre like that, but he was banking on some kind of like big attack to help galvanize heroes like that. Just that kind of thinking we never would have really envisioned for a character in Star Wars. But Luthen is such a fantastic character who we already knew, given his speech in season 1, was built on a legacy of like sacrifice, not seeing the sunrise that he'll ever see, having this doomed narrative, but still making such an impactful having some kind of big impactful journey throughout both seasons here, and played brilliantly by Stellan Skarsgård. I was floored every step of the way with Luthen. There's not one bad Luthen scene. He's such a integral character, and he is easily one of my top 5 new Star Wars characters of all time, and that's including Andor, who I think is definitely now in my top 5 as well. I'm just so floored by the show and by Luthen. Yeah,
Stellan's whole performance is so raw, in the sense of just showcasing a man who has unfortunately accepted the reality that he doesn't get like true happiness, like he doesn't get like a life as it is. He does this performance to carry on the mission, and that's it. But you can steal those small moments with your existence, with his partnership with Clea, which I think is really good. I'm sure he views it as a parental type of relationship based on the years. But it was interesting. I was watching the declassification of the last few episodes that was uploaded on Star Wars about these episodes, and Clea has a very different viewpoint apparently in regards to their situation.
Oh, what did she say?
Well, she suggested that per the flashback that her family that was lost might have had something to do with Luthen and his team, so she has a resentment for Luthen, but as she grows with him, she has that resentment still inside, but then there is also a hint of love that has grown around that. So it's not a father-daughter relationship to her, but like she has grown attachment despite the resentment she held, which is why she's able to commit to taking him out in the hospital, but also feels that remorse by doing so.
Oh, that's so interesting. Yeah. I mean, you could assume Luthen's military, whatever that was, ex-imperial or whatever, killed her family, right? Because she was like one of the only survivors. So I guess it does make sense to have a sense of hatred there.
Yeah, I definitely understand why she picks that up in that instance, but I also see for myself as a viewer watching Luthen during that scene, I could tell like he doesn't want to be a part of this senseless killing, and like he's actively avoiding the battle. Like they're trying to call him back in. He's like, I'm recharging my stuff. I can't get back out there. You gotta wait. And he's just done. He's even like sitting there like losing it, wanting the screaming to stop.
Make it stop, the title of the episode. But it does call into play, like, was this the feather on the camel's back for Luthen, or had he done other stuff and then just became like not desensitized, but became burdened by it, and this was his breaking point?
This is a good question, and I'll tell you right now, Evan. As I was watching the initial flashback, I think like as soon as they cut back to like when they're first starting to like travel together, I was like, okay, they're gonna announce a novel for sure.
Yeah. I would love that. I would love a novel. Get the yeah. I don't know who would write that. I can't think of an author right now. But there's so many great
James
authors that could write
Luceno.
that. James Luceno, go ahead. Adam Christopher, that's his name, the guy who did the Luke post what's it called? Sequel trilogy book.
Yeah,
I forget what that's called.
the Luke and Lando journey, right?
No, that was Daniel Jose Order.
Oh, okay.
No, you're right. Yeah, it was the Luke and Lando. I'm thinking of something else. Yeah, the Luke and Lando journey was by Adam Christopher, and he's coming out with a new book this year called like some kind of Vader book.
Is it Ghost something?
I think Ghost of Evil. I don't know.
Shard of Evil. I don't know.
But yeah, it's a Vader book. But anyways, because he's been in the like darkness era, but I like that. And that kind of goes into is it flashback time? Yeah, we could jump into the flashback stuff. My notes are all over the place.
I think we can encompass all the flashbacks.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Because they are scattered, but they don't really start until a few scenes later. But anyways, yeah, the flashback starts with Clea's invasion of the hospital. But either way, yeah, I adore this flashback. I like what you said or mentioned about the declassified stuff. I got to rewatch those episodes because I haven't watched a single declassified video yet.
They I don't know if they all are, but like they uploaded that onto the Star Wars YouTube. So I was like, okay, cool.
Yeah, I keep getting like it goes straight to my subscriptions, so I gotta
They're very kind to put a spoiler warning in the title. Like they didn't spoil anything in the title, but they said spoilers in the video. So I was like, yeah,
good,
makes sense.
But yeah, you get the sense that he killed. But he the thing I say like in terms of feather on Kimmel's back is because he is a sergeant at this point. So it's like he has such a high position. If he was just like a green like soldier and then he was like make a stop and be like, okay, this is his first job and he wants to be out of there. Kind of like Finn in The Force Awakens, where he's like he gets down there and he's like, oh, I am not built for this. Like I want to get out of here.
He's younger than present, but he still is like an older gentleman. But I kind of get the feeling
30s here.
Maybe say late 30s, early 40s.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
That's
like 60s in the show.
Yeah. So that said, I think he's probably somebody who is weathered from the experiences. I'm still not even like fully clear like what he is fighting in, like what team.
No idea.
Is he a fucking separatist? I don't know. Like
I went through the whole gamut as I'm watching this with Jalen, and I'm just like, okay, first things first, ex-Imperial is the first thing that has to come to mind. But because they're just, if you put on subtitles, you can get a sense that there's civilians screaming and dying. So it's like, oh, they're just straight up killing people. But you can't tell there's like a resistance. Is this even a battle or is just a massacre? You can't really tell. I'm going to lean towards massacre, given where they were and what happens later on. But yeah, he's a sergeant here. He could be ex-Imperial. He could be ex-Republic, or he could be ex-Separatist. You never really know. But they have, what we need to know is that they have the weapons, they have the people, and they're harming other people. And, this kind of, in seeing Clea, he doesn't turn her in or anything. This is kind of like his, again, feather on the camel's back to like kind of push himself out of this awful zone. Does that make him an awful person? Probably, yeah. He probably did a lot of bad stuff. But the beauty of Star Wars and about Luthen's character is that like this guy is, man, he's such a complex character. He probably did a lot of bad stuff in his past, but he built, as we saw in the speech, as we hear in the speech in season 1, like he made it his mission to fight back against the Empire. And sacrifice his life doing so.
Yeah, you could probably also make the argument that like he's probably seen a lot of horrific things, and that is his fuel for fighting for what the rebellion stands for in freedom and just true democracy and whatnot.
Exactly.
But definitely freedom above all else, which is an unfortunate turn when you think he's probably like he doesn't like that the Gormans were massacred, but even though he suggests like it'll help the cause, he also is fully aware that like this is a horrific sacrifice, but it is necessary in our fight getting stronger to ultimately end it all together.
Yeah, he's the epitome of necessary evil.
Yeah, doesn't
And
like it, but he recognizes it's necessary.
it's very difficult, you know, and it's very meta in the Road War as well. Is like you can do a lot of stuff by, you know, going through the correct procedures, and that's kind of who Mon Mothma was. Like, you know, even though she was also doing stuff behind the back of the Senate and stuff like that, but her power was just like being able to fight back using her words, her ideals in the Senate, which was, you know, placed there by the Empire, right? Even though the Senate kind of like dissolved itself. Anyways, but like she was going through official channels a little bit, but for Luthen, it's all about like these backwater channels that were extremely necessary for the rebellion. The rebellion can't abide by the rules of the Empire. They would fight a losing battle completely. So Luthen's all about like how they break the rules, how they navigate their way through the Empire and through the rebellion using their own methods. Because but yeah, so yeah, they're executing civilians here. Clea, what's it called? Clea and Luthen goes to a shop and steals some artifacts, and like it's just a first instance of you know, their future selling art at their art gallery here. But it's just a good example of them like negotiating art and price, and we get a good sense of Clea's character. I think the actress did a phenomenal job conveying Clea and her relationship to Luthen. You know, going back to again what you mentioned with the declassified, it's like at this point she's not like Ellie and Joel have a big like father daughter wolf and cub attitude. What I liked about this one is it's like, yeah, you get the older and younger dynamic, but I wasn't sensing wolf and cub watching this because there is a lot of like disagreement here. Especially later on, obviously, like the massacre of the civilians, Luthen walks away. He's like, okay, peace out, I'm gone. I'm just like, damn. And like you can expect him, part of him is like hoping that Clea follows, but you know, as kind of headcanon.
He was more so focused on teaching her the right tactics of war. Like she's insistent that she can set off the bridge detonation, which like I think that looked like Naboo that they were on.
Yes.
But yeah, like Luthen sees like she's just kind of like heading right into it, but it's like, no, hold on, you gotta wait, don't look, stay focused on me, detonates it, don't look, wait, okay, now look. Like you can't, because you don't want to just be like, oh, they were already looking preemptively before it happened, they must be suspect. Like they were intent. He even mentions like you didn't like eat anything, like that also looks suspicious.
Yeah, and he's like slowly teaching her like these covert ways to operate herself in these dangerous situations. But I also like the scene before that when after she witnesses the massacre, she walks back up to him as he's leaving the town, and she's like, "Why didn't we do anything? Why can't we continue fighting?" He was like, "You must lose and lose and lose before you can win," and I absolutely love that because he knows he's an underdog in this scenario. And it's not like some sports underdog, but it's just like they're a rebellion. And not even then, they're not even anything at this point in time. But they're just doing these risky acts of rebellion, you know, of like burning, as you mentioned, burning down like the ships on the bridge, these tanks. Not even a full rebellion yet, but these acts of justice in their eyes. And through that, by not having the exact means of the Empire, they are inevitably going to lose and lose and lose. You know, you lose a sense of your life by committing to this mission. But that's the whole goal of Luthen, of Clea, of the rebellion at large, and that's hope. Like you win by putting your hope in those that come after you. And I think, you know, he's putting his hope in Clea a little bit, even though it goes kind of unsaid. But I think, you know, he puts his hope in Clea puts her hope in like Cassian. Like people put their hope in those that come after you so that your death isn't like it's not in vain. One of my favorite moments, you know, one of my favorite shows of all time is Attack on Titan. And if people know anything about Attack on Titan, there's big Titans, and then there's guys and girls fighting against Titans. Like they're fighting a losing battle in that show as well. So when they die, it's like, was my life even worth it if I'm just dead against a tree? My lungs are splattered around. Like, what's the point of me even continuing to fight this mission? Like, what's the purpose of me just killing Titans, just never ending? But there's a character, Levi, who just and Aaron as well, who just like, I will continue your legacy. I will make sure your death has meaning. And I think in Star Wars, the same thing with Luthen here. Like, even though they don't blatantly say this, that's the brilliance of the show. It's all subtextual here. I think Clea is like Luthen's like living legacy. She becomes the hope. She carries through the hope that Luthen had, and that she also holds into the future. Which again, going ahead, I'm just so glad that she survived, so that like she can continue his legacy. Despite this like messy but loving relationship that they had between the two. It was great. This whole flashback was so. I'm just surprised we got this in general, Nathan. Like we're in the final arc of this show, and they spend like half of the first episode of this arc with the flashback, and I loved every second of it. I thought it was just so compelling. The whole like make a stop. I'm like, wow, like everything about this flashback was just so moving and impactful. I loved it all.
Ditto, dude.
But going through after, do you have anything else about the flashback before I move on here?
No, I think we hit all the points. Yeah,
what I loved here after Luthen's, stabbing, it was great framing, by the way. Stabbed himself, camera pans to his hand and the knife. It's so like he's dying and it's cool.
The aura.
The aura. Dedra's face, though, pure comedy. Everything that happens to Dedra, I'm sorry. I love you, Dedra. You're one of my favorite characters in the show. Everything that happens to her is poetic, it's earned, and it's hilarious, too. And I'm just watching her face, like the look of horror.
I thought Darth Maul had it bad. Sisyphus indeed.
Right? The look of horror on her face when she sees what happening, she's like, I was like, oh my God, it's hilarious. He's like, you're not gonna get the win here. I'm dying. You're having nothing.
Yeah. The actress in the Declassified was comparing her ending to like what happens when a minion feels like they're just as equally important as the higher ups, and like how that can not only be dangerous, but like dangerous in the eyes of said higher ups.
She thought she was the main character. She had main character syndrome.
She did. She was so hopeful with Cyril, and almost in a diluted fashion of like, oh, we're gonna have all the glory, and it's like, all right, but hold on.
Big time. And I can't wait to rewatch this season in its entirety and see like how that all connects. Because like there's a lot of parallels. Like she loses Cyril in the last arc, but then a lot of things happen in this arc parallel what she did to Cyril, which we'll get to. I wanted to mention we get a cool Rebels reference as they ransack his shop with the whole Mortis artifacts there. That was a shout out. Turns out, as we see Dedra at the hospital, they're at the pit, by the way. Just kidding. The hospital is named after Lena So, as was pointed out to me by a lot of people. Thank you guys. I know I'm a High Republic fan. But like Nathan tweeted it out, Jalen gave it to me, some other fans gave it to me. I'm like, Lena So, she's a chancellor, or Lena So was the title of the hospital, Linah, and then So, SOH. She's the chancellor during phase 1 and phase 3 of the High Republic, because phase 2 is a flashback phase. And she's a phenomenal character. She has these 2 pet like alien tigers. I think they're called Tigrons or whatever, which are brutal and very cool. But she's a great chancellor, very complex chancellor. She loves her son so much. There's some great arcs with her character. But anyways, I'm glad that she lives on. At least had an impact on Coruscant. We get to the hospital, and it turns out Hirt, her ex-assistant who was in charge of the Axis Project, was unaware that she did this, which is so shocking to me. I'm like,
waited for my day off.
She went off book, and this is crazy. she did this solo. Luthen's death would ruin things. But it's funny because by her going off book and them having to like reprimand her, it takes them away from the hospital, which makes it more easier for Clea to do her job here with the invasion. I mentioned this to Jalen, and it's funny because I watched the Star Wars Explained video, and he says the same thing. Is that like Dedra craves like order and justice. It's part of the Empire, right? Order, justice, security, blah blah blah. But at the same time, her character is like exuding this essence of freedom. She wants the ability to do her thing the right way, or at least how she perceives it to be the right way. We see that in season 1 with her like overtly exerting her control over the Axis project before it even was the Axis project, right? After the attack on Ferrix, like she wants to take over that project in season 1. She like that battle between her and the other guy, because she thinks her way is the right way. She can go behind his back, go through his files, and kind of like exert her control that way, and it works out for her. But in season 2, she goes through some files that she wasn't supposed to go looking into, all in pursuit of her obsession, and it goes the opposite way. It ruins her career, it ruins her life, and she wants to have the freedom to do things she wants, but that freedom is all part of the rebellion. In the Empire, you don't get the freedom to do stuff. You got to do things their way. If you don't do things their way, you're dead and forgotten.
Yeah, which is wild because an argument could be made. Dedra could have absolutely taken the Empire to the great glory that they seek.
Yes.
But because she didn't go about it the correct way, they are offended.
And she majorly fucks up. I'm listening this to Krennic's whole thing. We'll get to it, but I'm just like, wow, like that was a big mess up. Yeah, that was hilarious, and that was not scripted too. That's funny.
Yeah, that was also in the class where she said like that what came out of nowhere. It fucking scared me.
Imagine being an actor and be like, ah.
I was watching like the behind the scenes of that take, and I was like, fuck, they got to get this in one take because they fuck up her slick hair. Like you have to fucking go back to wardrobe to fix that.
Yeah. I wonder, like, when it comes to like improvisation in acting, like sometimes an actor does something and like, ooh, I like that, do it again. Kind of like I think they did that in Sinners as well during the car ride sequence. I know Delroy Lindo said that was improv with the whole talk, but I wonder like if he did it on set, Michael B. Jordan riffed off of it, but then they're like, okay, do it again because I like that so much. So I wonder if they just shot that once with the whole Dedra scene, or they just like, hey Ben, that was fantastic, do it again. But anyways, so yeah, what's it called? Yeah, so this is basically, I mentioned how this is Dedra's ego basically lashing out, and she gets arrested. We go through the Luthen flashback. What's it called? And then we go to what's after that? Oh yeah, I can't tell when this episode ends. By the way, I don't know. I think it ends with the Andor message, maybe. Or is the Krennic interrogation in this episode? Episode 10?
Yes, I think, unless Krennic was saved for episode 2. It might have been saved because Hurt comes to Dedra when she's in prison to get more. No, this is all episode 1, isn't it? Because that's after Clea gets out of the hospital because they're trying to track down her location for the message. So yeah, that might all be episode 2.
It ends with her radio in Andor. Or no. Andor's not in episode 10 at all. Yeah. He's not in episode 10 at all.
No, I think, does it end with Wilmot?
No, I think it just ends with Luthen's death. So let's just talk about.
Yeah, you're right. It ends in the room.
In the room. So yeah. I love like the cut to black, the slow fade to black. But anyways, yeah. I didn't put any notes about the invasion because there's nothing that happened. But like, I just mentioned how it was epic and intense and fantastic. Like this is peak Mission Impossible here with Clea locking in. I mentioned earlier how like Dedra's absence there creates this room for like, not that much scrutiny up there. If Dedra was there, she would have spotted like the series of events that was happening, would have been like probably stood at the door of Luthen's room like, I'm not letting anybody go through it.
Yeah, literally.
But anyways,
I was like, can you pull a fire alarm, Clea? Is there a way to?
Right,
which she kind of does. Yeah,
she kind of does.
There's a fire.
So I like a lot of things here. Going off the top of my head here, she like has a lock lockpick device that she used to get the scrubs, the yellow scrubs.
Yeah.
She takes this alien in a wheelchair. It's a very funny sequence up the elevator.
Huh? What? Anyway,
I'm glad the alien lived. It wasn't just like a meat shield for Claire or anything. That'd have been tragic.
that comes later with K2.
Yeah. Oh my god, I can't wait. So yeah, she has to get to level 19 or 29 or something like that.
I think 19. She ends up on 17.
17. Yeah, okay. 19 ends up at 17. She's like, okay, cool. Then she just like fires her way upstairs, classic, like, hey, what's going on? Boop boop, like fire over the crate.
Yeah, be up here. I was radioed. Still can't. Fuck it.
Fuck it, die. And then she makes her way basically to Luthen's place. It was very like, I love the espionage, her blowing up the hangar. I think they went out of their way to say like there wasn't a lot of people there. Like she didn't just like bomb a lot of people.
Yeah, no, I think she's very smart about like her settings. Yeah, for sure. Even so, I would imagine it's more like reserved employee militant parking anyway. So
yeah, exactly. So yeah, throughout this we're getting the flashbacks, but I just love seeing this entire intense sequence. I'm watching this, Nathan, and I'm having big Last of Us the game flashbacks to when like Joel has to invade the hospital to get Ellie. And I'm like, when I'm playing as Joel the first time, I'm like, am I gonna die here in this hospital when I get to Ellie or whatever? That was like my first time playing Last of Us. And when I'm watching this, I'm like, is Clea surviving this? How did she just get out of this hospital alive? But hey, she does, and I love it. But yeah, she makes it to Luthen's shop here, man, and just so tragic and moving. The way she just like, I like how she doesn't go in there because she had a blaster. She could just go in there and like, boom, goodbye, Luthen. But she doesn't. She just unplugs his breathing apparatus, and he has like a few last gasps of breath and slowly dies. It's incredible writing.
In his sleep, which is probably the best you could ask for Luthen, even though he was put under via stab wound. But yeah, hopefully he went peacefully and knows that. I think he does know Clea of all people will complete the mission set. She will get word back. She's fully aware how capable she is, and I think that's something beautiful. But yeah, her bittersweet goodbye, because even that I didn't pick up the perspective of the resentment, but it is an interesting alternate angle to look at it. But just feeling it,
her people were killed by Luthen's people.
Yeah. It does, but also I physically watched him not fight. I don't know.
Yeah.
But again, like I think the love is fully there, and like she is like the whole next episode, she is continuously not only pleading that Cassian gets this news back to Yavin, but also she's defending Luthen's name of how much he sacrificed and put on the line to get the biggest piece of information they will ever receive in the history of this war.
Big time. And like the gravity of the information is so. I know they understand it. I mean, Clea's like desperate to understand it, but like, man, it's so wild how major this information was. And again, it all stems from Dedra and Lonnie. Like Dedra going through Imperial information, and like it's funny because like there's like these huge landmines in terms of like Galen Airso, kyber crystals, and she's all like, I don't care. I need to find how it connects to Luthen, how it connects to Axis, who they were talking to in relation to Axis. That was her own priority. Meanwhile, Krennic's all just like, you had all this information on your file basically, and it ruined it. But so yeah, it was.
You went to go to Luthen alone?
Like, what are you doing? But yeah, Luthen dies here. Episode 11 starts off here with ISB investigating the hospital. And it was kind of like crazy how the hospital staff or the president comes over there and is like, we're going to arrest you for stopping our progress here. But they're shutting down a hospital on Coruscant. That's like wild. It's like, and it's kind of disgusting. Imagine somebody just shutting down a hospital just to investigate their own failure.
I would hope it's not the only hospital. But
it seems it's a hospital right across from like the Senate building or whatever. This is deep in the heart of Coruscant. Like,
it's definitely a big general hospital.
There's like
an
27
important
levels there. Yeah.
Yeah, and there's also just ongoing patients there.
Yeah. So like, what do they do? They just leave or something? All because ISB can just act like they're investigating shit. There's
Yeah,
just
or
nothing at the hospital.
at least it's on lockdown, so like no new person can enter and nobody can leave.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's insane. And I do like Hert's obsession of being like, all right, the mistakes that were made here. Remember that was on Deidre's watch. This was her call. Make sure that's underlined in the report. It's like, man, he is out for blood. Weren't you guys friends before?
I would too. You fucked me over. Yeah. She
Yeah.
fucked over the entire ISB. The ISB is dead after this, which is wild to think about. Like we don't see them in Rebels, we don't see them in other stuff because like I think this kind of like destroys its credibility. I think
goes up to Deidre's I forget the commander's name, but like her boss. Partagast, yeah.
He takes the L for this as well.
DL-44.
What?
I think the DL-44 that he took out.
Maybe. But yeah, now we've been talking around it, but like, yeah, we get the Krennic interrogation, which was just, oh man.
I love how he's framed from the mouth down. Like it's just
right?
The terror of the imposing sense and just like the essence of the cape and
such a big imposing presence. And Ben Mendelsohn is a gift from the gods.
This is the best Krennic scene ever. It is because I watched the season. I watched Rogue One, and I was like, no, he dialed the fuck in on this scene.
I think you're right. Even though I do like spiders on Corman.
I love it. I love, and this is the great thing. It's like I love the progression of his like the first couple of years. He's like, yeah, everything's chill. It's fine. We're not like under any like crunch. We're on track. It's fine. But then last arc in this one, I don't even know if he was in the last one. I don't think he's in the Gorman arc at all. But we see him here, and he is just like, Tarkin broke this man's spirit.
yeah. Which I plead people to read the novel, the Rogue One novel, Catalyst, because Krennic. It's one of my all-time favorite Star Wars books. Krennic, I love it more than Rogue One. Krennic and Galen's dynamic is amazing. Krennic, Galen, and Jin's mom. That trio there is really good.
Lyra.
They have a great like trio dynamic, even though Krennic is like an evil asshole. But it made me love and appreciate Krennic so much, and the stress that is under this man in that book and leading into Rogue One. Like this guy is under so much stress because his product is taking so long, way longer than they anticipated for this damn project. And then at the very end, it's not even his anymore. It's Tarkin's, which is just wild.
Yeah.
But anyways,
there was like a quick scene in Rogue One where him and Tarkin are kind of having that argument about about you've had a lot of like security breaches as of late, and Krennic said like the breaches have been filled, Jedha's been silenced, and you kind of just take that as like Bodhi's defection, like that's what he's talking about. But then when I hear him talk about the breaches, I'm like, fuck it, what he just went through on the ISB has really fucked his reputation under Tarkin.
It really has. And he made a point. Like, I agree with everything Krennic is saying here. It's like, I shouldn't even be here. Why do you think I'm here? I was like, I am the head of I'm not even in relation to the ISB. I shouldn't even be here. But your little plan.
I think they bring up Lonnie and or somebody, and he's like, yeah, that's why I'm here, for like the death of an ISB officer. Yeah. Like that's the biggest of my importance. I also like how he, when somebody's in trouble and you don't just explicitly say what you found, you're just like, you try to get them to admit it. So he's like, what would be the reason for me to be here, to be called all the way down here in such great importance? What could be the words? Say it. And it's like Death Star.
Yeah, the way he gets in there, like, say the words. Oh my god. And I laugh too, because I'm like, is Death Star one word or two words? It's technically two words. Fuck. Death Star? No. But I do.
I thought you was gonna say Stardust for the project name. And
me too. That's one word.
I was just like, are they publicly calling it Death Star? I know Galen says they are in the hologram. So
if I'm reading an email and they're like, this is called the Death Star now, I would just would have laughed. I'd be like, are we really calling this? Yeah, guys, are we not the bad guys?
Well, from the woman who initiated Gorman, I think, like all the way to the board meeting was just like, you have to do this, and then they did that.
Right. That kind of goes into her lack of control too, because she did not want to do that whole board meeting thing. Afterwards, she's like, "I want to get out of here, Partagas," and he's like, "Make this seem like a good part for your resume. Like, just follow Krennic's orders." Like, she did not want to do all that kind of stuff. Not saying she's like not complicit. Again, she completely is.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just I love this whole interrogation sequence. The boop on the head, just exuding that physical control. The way he puts his hands on her and slams her back on her seat at the end. I'm like, oh my god.
It was so intense. We'll be sure to manage without your moving forward.
Like I was like,
I've been fired, but worse, I'm a prisoner.
One line killed me. Because before this, yeah, like you mentioned, he's asking her, like, do you know why I'm here? And it's funny enough, like, she does and doesn't, because like she doesn't understand the gravity of what she did. She went into files about like these major Imperial secrets about, again, the Death Star, Kyber crystals, Cow site for Gorman, the Jedha project, all that kind of stuff. And she's like, well, yeah, I use that information to get connections to the Axis project. He's like, that doesn't matter. You have information about the Death Star that is now leaked out by some random guys, like all the kind of stuff that she didn't realize that she kind of spiraled because of her access. Yeah. And he says, like, "Are you a spy? I bet you better hope you're a spy."
He had a great set because at first, like, he's calling her names like a scavenger and stuff like that, and then she makes a really compelling art. Like, if this was court, she might have a chance. The way she was explaining, like, yes, based on the situations that I was handed and what I wasn't able to do with my job, I had to scavenge for this information to enact the things you wanted to progress forward. So yes, I had to do this, and all from like these files being accidentally sent to her, and she should have turned them over right away. But then Krennic has a very like gut wound line delivery of just like, if you're not a rebel spy, you missed your calling. I was like, oh, fuck, you really picked the wrong side, Dedra.
It's so baller. I love Krennic. I love Dedra. This scene is just aces. It's so good.
It truly is.
But yeah, it's funny because it kind of exudes also the beauty of this arc in the season, where at the beginning the rebels are like fighting amongst themselves on Yavin idiotically. But now by the end of the season, the rebels are all together, and the Empire is the one that is just like deleting their brass. Goodbye, Dedra. Goodbye here, Partagas, etc. Like, they're just deleting their brass. Like, I think Stars Explained had a great image today, or I think Molly shared it or something, where it's like there's always a bigger fish for the Empire. So like, boom, like goodbye.
It was like Cyril, Dedra, Partagas, Krennic, Tarkin, Vader.
Yeah, Palpatine. And the only person that matters is Palpatine. Yeah. In dictatorship, the only person Palpatine didn't even give a fuck about Vader at the very end.
No, a lot of the time, really.
He wanted to use Luke to kill Vader. So it's just like, Palpatine's always thinking about himself. Palpatine didn't even care about the Empire. When he died, he said, burn it to the ground, Operation Cinder. Like, when he dies, he's like, the Empire means nothing without me. Die. And it just, that's
so petty.
That's so petty. And the people within the Empire are doing it too. They're like, well, it's his plan, even after he's dead. It's like, it's his plan.
What happens after you?
Yeah, right?
I have to go play Battlefront 2 again.
Right? It's so crazy. That's why I love Palpatine. He's like, I don't give a fuck about anybody else besides me in my life. Which again, I don't mind him coming back and Rise of Skywalker. I just wish the execution was, better. But yeah, I'm skipping over, but we do get another Dedra scene later on when here it comes to her, and she does. At this point, they already know about Clea. I think Dedra is the one that informs them about Clea, right? I think to Krennic, but here it comes to her because they have Clea. They're broadcasting her. Ooh, I love that scene where they're trying to like discuss how to broadcast her with Krennic, Hirt, and Partagas. And here's like,
we'll send this
what do we do?
As far as wide to every frequency as possible until we find her. And then the Hurt's like, well, what's the reason? And Partagas just like, oh my god.
It doesn't fucking matter.
It's like, she's first spreading an infectious disease. If we have to get her. And Krennic, as soon as he's done, is like, you have the reason. Why are you still here?
Why are you still here? Boom.
He's so wit's end. He's so done.
He's like, I'm supposed to be on Corus. I'm supposed to be parsecs away at the Death Star, but I'm sitting here on Coruscant dealing with this mess.
He's managing children in his eyes. He really
is. Oh, and by the way, I love the disease comparison here because this is what kind of starts Partagas's whole intro in season 1, right? Where he's like,
he has a couple
the rebellion, the freedom is a disease. Our job at the ISB is to sniff it out, cut the disease, and all that kind of stuff. And this now at the very end,
and then in this final scene, he's listening to the Nemec manifesto, and he's like, it just keeps spreading.
It's freedom. It continues. This disease is impossible to delete. There's no cure for freedom. Or sorry, there's no cure for.
I mean, it's kind of bars.
There is no cure for viewpoint. Yeah, from the fascist viewpoint. Yeah, exactly. There is no way to delete freedom. It's always going to be there. It's ever present. And we can just jumpstart to Partagas, because eventually he does, like at the very end of the episode, he kind of takes the L there for himself. But man, Nathan, what a phenomenal, like Star Wars is always built on like phenomenal side characters ever since the original trilogy and A New Hope, basically. But like, man, Anton Lesser, what he did with this role is astounding. Every single scene with Partagas is incredible. What does he say this season with compartmentalize your enthusiasm or something like that? He's like that one guy is super excited for like the
I think it was her. He was like super excited for the opportunity. He's just like, fucking it's grunt work, like whatever.
Like, what are you doing here, man? Like every line of his, he's so sickening and evil. Oh, I think my favorite delivery from him this season was Bad Luck Gorman, and I'm like, oh my god, it's so sinister.
It's the casual evil, which was one of my testaments to the horror. Once again, bringing up, and it was based on the first arc scene with Krennic, which based off the movie Conspiracy, about the planning of the Holocaust. Like again, every performance in that movie, like 8 out of 10 people in that boardroom, even so, the other 2 are like complicit. It's just everybody is so nonchalant, casually. It's just like, where are we on board meeting, like type stuff, like like what are the statistics, like stuff like that, like that level of mundane speaking about the lives of a whole people, nonchalantly, and that's how. So I would say, like, again, if you're intrigued by his character like that, get a whole slew in something like that. It's on HBO.
It's so good. I can't wait to watch it. I told my brother about it. He was like, "Damn, that sounds dark and interesting." I'm like, "Yeah, we gotta watch that soon."
Star-studded cat.
But yeah, it was like Bad Luck Gorman. Like, this guy is a sick man. But he's just one cog in the wheel at the very end. He kills himself and the Empire will live on. But man, it's just so, he exudes like this evil, like you say, this casual evil throughout Andor, throughout the series. That was just so vital to like the darkness of this series. And he delivered every line so well. He's an excellent character, excellent actor. He will be missed. Well, I mean, not the character, but I'm gonna miss watching him do his thing. But Dedra does tell her later on, like, "Hey, watch out for these old radio transmissions." And she kind of says this in exchange for like leniency on her sentence. Because I was shocked that, like, spoiler alert to the very end, but she does go to like one of the Narquinos. 5, 6, 7, or 8. I do like I do wonder, I'm like, why didn't she just get point blank executed? But maybe because she delivered some radio transmission that she can just stay in prison for the rest of her life. I don't know.
Maybe, but like, oh my god, this Narquina sucks, man, because like not only just like the living situation, but like your food is just like a paste in a tube in the water, and that's all.
My headcanon is that she jumps onto the what's it called? At night when like
burn floor,
the burn floor. I think she's one of those people that just boom.
I would too, man. Especially because like I mean, we all saw like they were building stuff for the Death Star, and like even when that gets blown up, they're immediately building the second one. So she's getting back on that work forever.
Oh god, yeah, it's time to like jump on your neck. But so yeah, Dedra, all that kind of stuff. But episode 11, we finally get introduced to Andor. Back on Yavin.
This was interesting. Tony Gilroy in the Declassified was describing it as like, before it was like a beautiful hut situation with his living situation with Bix. They like reformed this main hut unit, and then like their actual bedroom spire was like built in like the style of like the huts he built like when Cassian was a child, like kind of in that inspiration
Oh,
of like that piece.
yeah.
And it was like very like nice homey setting compared to the isolated concrete jungle of Coruscant. And it was a nice space, a loving space. But since Bix is gone, he's compared to a bit of like more of a frat house vibe. Like they're
A
very
man
like,
cave.
yeah, they're on their own. Melshi is living with Cassian in there as with K2 as well. They're
Oh,
all
that's
living in that
cool.
space. And
Yeah.
yeah, it's obviously messy. Like it's not as homey, but it's
Yeah.
like it's a whole different vibe. But like they're happy.
I love that. That makes a lot of sense. Like I kind of caught the lighting of it all, not the whole like
Mhm.
impression of it all, but like the lighting, like when Bix is there, it's much more like airy and light and beautiful. Because yeah, you're living with your wife basically. But as
Yeah,
soon as like you cut to like Melshi and K2,
it's
it's like
divorced dad
it's dark. It's divorced dad. It's like poker night constantly every night. Probably is just like, come
yeah,
on, guys,
playing
what are we doing
dominoes.
here? Playing dominoes. Yeah, it's very funny. But yeah, it's basically like big man cave, divorced dad energy there. Yeah, much more tragic because like Bix, and it's funny because I'm jumping ahead again. But Vel says later on towards like I think episode 12, like call Bix again because Bix left so Cassian can pursue his commitment to the rebellion. By the time we get to this arc, he is committed, so he could have called up Bix again, and it could have been reunited.
Yeah,
Um,
I'm under the
on
impression
Yavin.
I'm under the impression that Vel is aware of Bix's current situation.
Me
That's
too.
in the
Me
process.
too. Because she does say like, "Have you contacted Bix?" Like, I
Yeah,
think there is a way to contact her.
yeah. Essentially, Cassian's like he hasn't, and Cassian kind of makes the argument based on what Bix had said, like she's off doing her fight, and it's just like not the time. But Vel's like, I think you should, and Cassian's like maybe after this, which
Yeah.
is him heading into Rogue One, unfortunately.
Unfortunately. But yeah, it's like what's so interesting about in terms of relationships this season and in Star Wars as a whole during this era is that like you are able to have like this loving relationship, but it does create this struggle. I think in the comics, I think of like Poe's parents, how they had a very loving relationship in
Mhm.
during the gap between Empire and Return of the Jedi.
Mhm.
And one time Poe's mom gets captured by this Imperial, and like Poe's dad has a struggle between like going for the Death Star 2 plans or saving his wife, and he chooses to like he pulls a Cassie and he's like, I'm just gonna pull up some A wings, we're gonna go save my wife, which is in the complete opposite direction of like what we should be doing. But it's
Yeah.
like you gotta do what you gotta do, and I think that kind of struggle is what Cassian was like. I think I have to commit to the rebellion right now, and I'll call Bix afterwards. The tragedy is that like there is no afterwards, which is just
Yeah.
so heartbreaking. Like I think if Cassie lived to, be alive during the OT era, him
Mhm.
and Bix could have been an integral part of the rebellion and lived happily while still fighting the Empire.
Oh yeah.
Um, but it's just that like, man, it's like you got to take your love when you can during this, turbulent time. But
Yeah.
I'm happy that Biggs and Cassian did get the love that they had for each other throughout this arc or throughout this season, even if Biggs had to leave. So yeah,
Yeah.
it was tragic. But yeah, I do love the whole man cave energy is just hilarious. And again, one of my small complaints for this season or this arc is like, man, I would have loved more K2 because he is on
Mhm.
fire. He is
It
on
is.
fire. Like all of his dialogue. What's his name again? Alan something, right?
Alan Tudyk.
Alan Tudyk is just incredible. He exudes K2. He fits right into the role like he never left
He
from Rogue
does.
One.
I
And
admire I admire that he doesn't like have any moments that's like stealing the spotlight. It's all
Mhm.
very like fluid and natural within the functioning story that's being told. It's not just like all right, time for the fun haha with K2 and Cassian. It's just like no, he is how he normally is, but in the functionality of the current mission that we're running.
Which is so what a tightrope, right? Because K2 and it's so easy. I think even DeGour talks about it. It might have been declassified, but somebody was telling me how like Gilroy was talking about how initially this was going to be a K2 and K2 and Andor Adventure.
Yeah, I heard there was a specific episode that was like a horror movie inspired, where it was before the
That would be cool.
reprogramming with K2.
Yeah.
But I guess I think they were out of budget or anything for it.
Yeah, they're $200 million already in too deep.
Right. Go
But
off!
yeah,
It's final season.
right. Yeah. Kathleen Kennedy. Shout out to her. There was a great interview recently when Gilroy was like praising Kathleen Kennedy, how she said yes to all his demands. Demands in quotes, like he's not demanding stuff, but like she said yes to all his requests. And which he said he almost left the project, and he kind of like she continued pushing him to do the project or whatever. So everybody say thank you, Kathleen Kennedy, for giving us this incredible project. And Wilmon tells Cassian about Luthen, and what's so fascinating is that like they get a message. There's some back and forth. Do we trust it? Do we not? But at this point, they don't even know it's just Clea. They expect Luthen, which is such an interesting ordeal. And they know that he's in danger, and despite all the hiccups that Luthen and Andor have had over the years, they get right to work. It's like, okay, we got to go save him, which I love. To the behest of Draven.
Right. Diego made an interesting comment of like, like they're at like the most like chill, happy vibe, the most laid back essence you can imagine. They're just like having fun, like that frat house vibe. And then suddenly they're snapped into the most important mission of the entire war.
Which is wild. In a blink of an eye. It's like, oh shit.
And they don't even know it.
And they don't even know it. It's just like, oh cool, we're just gonna go save they're not just like casual about it. Like they're breaking what K2 says 18 rules by doing this.
Yeah. It's so refreshing.
Yeah. It's so funny in what's it called? He's like, oh yeah, just pretend we're doing a flight plan training or whatever, and we're just out of here. Like and Cassian's a leader. The whole last arc was about Cassian like trying to be a leader. He knows so many people will trust him and believe in him. And he's just doing all this crazy missions, which, as somebody who watches Andor, we're supportive of it. But it must be a big hiccup for everybody else around him. Which is crazy. But yeah, they light speed up over to Coruscant, and let's just jump to when they get to Coruscant there. What's it called? Oh, I made a quick note. That I love how Draven also has like we get when he gets upset with Wilmon after Andor leaves, and especially like Draven has such little respect for Luthen. But I was gonna mention this later on with the talk with the other Imperial or the what's it called? Bail crew in the finale. But I do love how even though they all like disdain Luthen, Draven also has like these Luthen tendencies. Isn't Draven the one who says like Cassian has to shoot Urso in Rogue One? Am I right or wrong?
Yeah, you're correct. He's like he doesn't have the full information of Galen Urso's functionality. Unless you see the hologram that Jin sees, they are not aware of Galen's involvement. As far as they're aware, like Galen is the top Imperial scientist to make something like the Death Star happen, and we have no idea what else he may be building for them next.
So we gotta shoot him, which is something Luthen would have done. And I love how later on Cassian's like, you and Luthen probably would have gotten along very well, because like they do have like that like by all means like we gotta do what we have to do that people like Mon might not even think of, nor should she. That's not who she is as a person. But it's very funny how everybody has like these Luthen, like, oh, we don't really trust that guy. But it's like, he is so necessary and important. And you guys, you're going to pull Luthen like actions a lot of the time. Totally. But yeah, they get to the course, how they're flying in. I love how K2 reminisces about like the parade that he was on there once with the Emperor. That was very funny.
Sorry.
So yeah. Sorry, I missed it. Then K2 is left on the ship while Melshi and Andor break into the apartment. And I love this whole intense sequence here because we're cutting back and forth with like the Imperials fidgeting with Luthen's radio transmission, what they could salvage from it. We get this cool tech lady who's like kind of like geeking out over the tech, which is very funny.
I also like the mounted tension of the Imperials jamming the radio frequencies around the setting, so Cassian and K2 can't keep in contact.
It's like going to like some kind of like black zone where it's just like as soon as they
Yeah.
enter the area, no comms anywhere, which is very funny. So yeah, it was a very intense sequence. There are also, I thought this was going to be crazy, but like it doesn't really go anywhere a lot. But like when they're jamming the signal, they also are like using Luthen's radio to try and trick Clea a little bit, but like faking some of the signal there a little bit.
I was thinking that might be it, but based on what happens, I think they're more so that's just them connecting to the radio itself to find the source. Like they're activating the radio so that heater scanner can pick it up in the exact location.
Yeah, okay, you're right.
Because at that moment she gets the knock on the door from Cassian, so she's like on alert walking over.
Yeah. So yeah, that was very funny. A lot of great editing here. We're cutting back and forth, and I was getting nervous. I'm like, there's no way they're gonna get out of this. And it's funny because there's a lot of tension, even though Andor and Melshi aren't like rushing. Really, they're like, oh yeah, we gotta go, hurry up and get to Clea. And when they get to her,
and Luthen,
and Luthen, yeah, they're looking for Luthen. When they get to her, it's so crazy. Like, where's Luthen? They're like, Luthen's gone. It's just like such a hard hitting fact. It's so depressing.
I think it goes from like them asking where Luthen is to before she answers like we're doing the plot, and then when we cut back, she's spouting all of the information she has about the Death Star, and they're just kind of like they're like letting it all wash over them.
Yeah, they're like sitting against the wall and chilling. I'm just like, there are people who floors below you. Hurry up! Like, yeah, let's get out of here.
But they don't know. Well, K2 knows, but he can't radio.
K2 knows, but he can't radio. It's like So yeah, this was insane because like the Empire's getting closer. They're on the floor below them. K2 trying to radio back to them, but he can't. He gets outside. He kills one of the people inside of their like parked carrier or whatever it was, transmission. And when K2 killing them, we cut back to Partagast and the others in the ISB headquarters. They're like, what the hell is going on there? It's like, send reinforcements. We don't have a lot of reinforcements in that area. It's like, send anybody. So it was just crazy. And then, yeah, K2, we get to see in the trailer when K2 just like whips the guy off the bridge, which was funny as hell. K2 is like a one-man wrecking ball.
Yeah, he is a one-punch man, in essence.
Great first season.
I have to check it out. But yeah, like the fact that he can just like knock him out on a whim is very captivating. Like that it's like there's two troops and like he takes out one and then the other one's just like stop. He doesn't fire. He's just like stop.
Yeah.
and then he gets kicked into the elevator. It's like, yeah, you didn't want to try.
What are you supposed to do at that point with the K2 droid? It's like, is that our K2 droid? Like, what's going on here? It's like,
yeah, that's true. I was also finding it interesting comparing K2's durability because in the Gorman setting, he gets shot and the blaster bullets kind of bounce off of him, but then his shell's a bit weaker in Rogue One. He takes a ton of shots.
Yeah, I think it's a ton of shots. I think
he does, but I do notice like 1 to 2 bolts can like pierce through. So I'm like, okay, it's whatever. It doesn't ultimately matter. I was just like, interesting.
Yeah. But the interesting thing here, as we get to the end of episode 11 here, is that as Clea is like, as you mentioned, she's going off about all this information. And what's so fascinating is that like she's spitting the information out because she doesn't plan on leaving with them. And this continues into episode 12. But I love how she's so nervous about the rebellion. She's willing to stay and just repeat her message to Andor. I think in her mind, like the rebellion has grown like beyond them, and she's willing to stay.
She doesn't believe Yavin would be an accepting place for her because of how she knows how they feel about Luthen.
Exactly. Which is funny because like it's about Luthen, not really her. But with Luthen dead, she's just carrying on Luthen's will in a way. So if they don't like Luthen, they probably don't like me. It's probably her thinking.
Yeah.
Even though I think that remains to be seen. As we get to Yavin with her there.
Yeah. I mean,
but yeah,
that's a beautiful testament later on when despite the not on equal footing between Mon and Luthen, Mon does stand for Luthen and his team because they saved her. Like even when she put all her faith in Bail, and then ultimately Luthen was right in that. Like even Bail's team can get infiltrated, but Luthen's never. Nobody cracks into Luthen.
I got shit to say about that when we get to that because I was going off.
That whole meeting is like
I was going off. I was like Andor. I'm like, oh, put me on the stage. Tag me in. Because man, I would have been. This is the debate team. I would have been going off. I would have gone off the flashcards. I'd have been going off.
I'll tag you in. Tag you in like you remember that scene in Nope when like they're doing the high five like 20 times. Yeah. Like tag me in.
Yeah, let's go. But yeah, the episode ends here as the Imperials are creeping towards the apartment. I love this whole like the beauty about Andor that we're getting so many different parts of the Empire that we'd never really heard of. Like the ISB was pretty new, but like this tactical squad is like also very like reminiscent of like the SWAT in our modern day. Just like going through everything, going piece by piece. They're not stormtroopers. They don't have stormtrooper helmets or anything, but they're just like this tactical SWAT squad.
They have bare minimum stormtrooper armor, like half of it.
Exactly.
They're
just like they're like in out. They have like the flashlights on their guns. I really liked it. So yeah, they're creeping towards there. Episode ends. We cut to the finale, and Clea continues to be not willing to go to Yavin, as we cut here in the beginning of the episode here. I love what she says, like, it's a bitter ending. She used the words like bittersweet, or it's like it would be a bitter ending to go to Yavin, which is such an interesting perspective. Because from us, Yavin is kind of like the beacon of hope of like, let's get to Yavin. Like this whole season's about like getting to Yavin. The whole groups are getting to Yavin, and Andor's telling her like, I left, but I still believed in Luthen, and I believed in like we need numbers. We can't do this without numbers. So he's like slowly. I don't even think he's able to convince her in time, but the clock's ticking, and they knew like, oh, they're here, right? I think they're in the middle of the conversation when they get there. But I mentioned in my notes here that like Clea is also afraid of change, and that change exudes like a change in like lifestyle. She has lived this life of like secrecy. She like everything that we talked about with Luthen, life of secrecy, of not really trusting one another. And when you get to Yavin, like Andor has to experience, you have to share stuff. You can't just go anywhere willy-nilly. There's a semi lack of freedom when you get to Yavin. But at the same time, you're exuding freedom because you're with the rebellion and you're able to fight back against the Empire. It's an interesting mix.
That was kind of brought up in the Declassified. Her connection to Vel in that scene ultimately brings Clea like away from the edge, as she described. Just based on where she was, like having lost all, and she really did feel like she was like at like the end of the journey and wasn't sure how to keep going on, but Vel's kindness was able to, and relatability with their experience with Luthen, was able to find that connectivity. It's like, I do have someone here that I can connect with. I'm not just alone.
Which is what Andor was telling her in the apartment, like, you will not be alone. I will fight for you. I will help you out here. Like, you will not be as alone. It won't be as bittersweet as you imagine. But the talk here gets cut short with K2. Right, K2 doesn't get there first, right? No, yeah, they get a knock on the door or something like that, right? Or no.
Melchi's going out.
They just leave, and Melchi's like, "Oh," like, "Hey,"
and they're like, "Don't move," and he was like, "All right." Out.
I love that so much. It was hilarious. They start blasting. So yeah, it was very fun action sequence. They get knocked up the head with the stun blast, right?
Yeah, effectively a flash grenade.
Yeah.
Which I think Clea does get knocked out. Cassian's eyes get messed up. Melshi's still going strong. And
Thank God he
obviously,
does, because without Melcy's covering fire, they would have been dead.
well, even then they're on the brink of death until K2 shows up. Luckily, which the choice of having him use Heath as the human shield was great.
Yeah, again, a character we've seen all throughout the season, working under Indedra, having bigger position of power, and his death is so unceremonious and hilarious, where he's just like, oh, you're just fodder. You're just in the way. You're a meat bag.
Now that said, when they were going back to the ship, Melshi was carrying Clea, and I was like, K2, you could carry her.
Yeah, K2, what are you doing, buddy? Come on.
Hard it is to carry a person so far.
Right? I'm like, I said that as we're walking away. I'm like, damn, is she light? And Melshi was just like booking it.
I'm sure she is. I know Melshi's got military strength, but like,
yeah,
K2, help.
Yeah, maybe he was helping out with cover fire.
But K2 is also the one-man army in front of them, so
yeah, exactly. Yeah, maybe he's just fair. Like their tank ahead of them. It's just like you be the tank K2, and then we'll carry Clea. But they're out of there. I just love the scenery of Coruscant, how they're zooming on by. It's so funny because Coruscant, like, it doesn't have any like clear hyperspace, or not hyperspace, but like roads or lanes or whatever. But they were just like zooming out of there. Right as the reinforcements arrive. Again, the Imperials are so unorganized, and there's a fantastic look on Partagas's face when he not when they realize there's an escape, but just when they realize all hell is breaking loose over there, and when they run away, it's just like the mask falls off, and Partagas is like, yeah, this was a failure. We failed here. And it's great. It's great.
They lost twice. 3 times even. Like the Daedra's recklessness with Luthen being killed by Clea, and Clea getting away.
Yeah. So yeah, Andor, there's a bit of a struggle as they get to Yavin. It's like, are they gonna shoot us down? It's like they might, but they land successfully. But Nathan, let's talk about this whole scene here. Andor gets to the he has to plead his case because he kind of broke all these rules. Mon's there, Draven's there, Bale's there, and the 2 others from Rogue One, the black lady, I forget her name, and the other snobbish guy who I hate. He was also a snobbish from Rogue One too, I think. If I remember correctly.
He is like, Death Star, this is nonsense. I like that actor. He's in
he says that?
Yeah. Because at that same time, they still don't have verification of the Death Star yet.
And this prior to Scarif, right?
This is post Jeddah.
Post Jeddah, okay.
But right before Scarif. Because that's when they're voting, like, send the troops to Scarif, but they're not unanimous, they can't.
Yeah.
But I like that actor. He plays a role in the Benedict Cumberbatch Sherlock Holmes, which is really good.
Oh, great show. Oh wait, he's the is he the brother?
No, he's Anderson. He's like this side cadet cop that gets on Sherlock's nerves just for doing his job.
But yeah, this was hilarious, guys. So Cassian telling them about Galen, Urso, the title of the episode, which I think is like Urso, Kyber,
Jeddah, Kyber, Urso.
Yeah. Like there's Jeddah, there's Kyber crystals. The Gorman front was a ploy. They were actually after this mineral called calcite. Using it. The energy program was a sham. There's a big weapon. What weapon is it? Well, I don't know what kind of weapon it is. Like, Luthen, you don't even know what weapon it is. What's going on there? Can we really trust Luthen? The one thing, giving a Bale a point here before I go off. Sure. Bale just bring up how Luthen was so distrustful of them. Like, Bale or Luthen didn't give them a lot of information. Why should they trust Luthen's information? And I kind of, going back to Big Brother, social strategy, survivor of it all. Like, if somebody, you just don't trust them whatsoever, and they're telling you information, even if it might be true, it's like, from the outside looking in, you just have no idea. It's like, if you don't trust me and I don't trust you, it's too late for me to just like automatically trust whatever new information that you were bringing to the board here, because I'm just going to automatically look at it from a form of skepticism. So I understand Bail there a little bit, but overall though,
There was
y'all wouldn't be here without Luthen.
That is correct. That is literally correct. Even in terms of the location of Yavin, is like Cassian was on a Luthen mission, just kind of meeting up there with a contact from Luthen. It didn't go right, but like the setting is like, oh yeah, this is something we could work with.
Yeah, presumably Cassian would have told them about Yavin. Like, again, we don't get that per se, but you get connecting the dots between arcs. Yeah.
There is a great retort, which Bail asked Cassian, like, when was the last time you were in contact with Luthen? And Cassian admits, like, it's been a year. However,
what happened during that year?
It was when I was escorting here to Yavin Senator Mothma, who glances at Bail, both recognizing, yeah, you slipped on that one.
You fucked up. And that's what I'm talking about. I was livid when they're like, oh, we can't trust Luthen's words or whatever. I'm like, Bail, you are the last person talking about like compromise, trust. If we trusted you, Mon Mothma would be dead in the cinema.
No, and I know Bail gives the most shit about Mon here out of anybody.
Right?
So he definitely is thankful for that, which, like, props to, later when Bail has to reconcile with Cassian in his home. But
Luthen saved the rebellion by bringing Mon Mothma to Yavin. He didn't have to do that either. He didn't have to. He went out of his way to go meet Mothma the night before her speech. Tells her a bit too much information about like her homeboy, Erskine, but also tells her like, hey, don't trust Bail's information. And he was right. Right. Yes. And he had the nerve to go off about Luthen and not trusting his information. Are you kidding me? Man, that had me living. Like, Bail, Mon Mothma would be dead. The rebellion would be dead if he followed your directions, buddy. Get out of here.
Damn.
But anyways, yeah. Cassian, he held his ground too. Thank you, Cassian. He did what he could. He was also fighting a losing battle because he broke like 18 rules. He was like, I can't say a lot here, but still.
Yeah. And he was immediately confined to quarters, but he's like, can I go to the med bay to see Clea? Yeah. And Mon's immediately like, yes.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Fuck them. But I do love like the leniency of the rebellion leadership here because like he has to go to he asked to go to the infirmary or whatever, and they're like, yeah, sure, whatever. B, Melshi and Wilmot come back like a day later, like, yeah, we're out. Like it reminded me of SpongeBob. It's like go to prison and just walk right out. And have a
yeah.
Just,
all right, get out.
And all right, get out. It's kind of like how it was for Melchi. He's like, yeah, we're out. And that's it. It's like, yeah, that was like a day. Like, what do we use a brick for? Yeah, a few hours. Like, what do you use a brick for on Yavin? Like, because if there's a traitor, you just get shot, right? So it's like,
I mean, we haven't really like gone inside the temples that they're building base of. So anything is possible.
If you want to read a Dr. Afra comic, she does go inside some of the temples. There's some cool stuff there.
Cool.
But yeah, it was very funny. I'm just like, yeah, the rebel leadership is a mess here.
It is. Just before that, they're on a hologram call with Saw.
Yeah, and over that. Yeah.
And Mon's like, Saw, we know you're on Jedha. You don't know where I am.
You don't know where I am.
We know you're there. We're trying to help you. I could be anywhere in the galaxy.
Yeah. Why should I believe you guys? You want to sit around talking all the time. It's like, dude.
It's like, we're not the Empire, Saw. That's what they would say. Stop it.
It's like, you still smoking that that Rhydonium, buddy?
He's got too much. He's in his respirator now.
Yeah, right.
I forgot his feet are gone in Rogue One. In his suit, he has 2 metal feet.
Oh wow, how did that happen? Bomb blew up, whatever.
But he probably did. He was probably like so deep in a fight.
Yeah. Like Saw is gonna blow up. He's like, just blow it up. I don't care.
It's so fun. Saw. I think Cassian even calls this out in the meeting in defending Luthen. It's like, we're not talking about Saw Gerrera because Saw is ultimately what they imagined Luthen to be for some reason.
Yeah, for sure. That's Saw Gerrera, where he's just, and yeah, also on Jedha saying like, you're doing so many attacks in the vicinity of Jedha, you're creating problems for us.
Problems for us that will backfire on you as well. We're trying to help.
Exactly, and when we get to Rogue One, it's like it's too late for him. But yeah. But yeah, so I love how Mon supports Andor. We get she asked Vel to basically to spy on Andor. And I do love seeing Vel. I love getting this Vel content at the end. She isn't just relegated to like she's upset about Cinta. I like how Gilroy gave Vel some great scenes of herself, putting herself forward in this finale, whether it was with Mon, Andor, and then Clea. Vel's impact on Yavin is just reinforcing that like the hospitality, that kindness that Vel exudes. She's such a kind character in general. We see that with all her scenes. But Mon asked her to spy on Andor, and I love her, and she's just like, "So Andor, what's the real plan here?" She doesn't even try and spy; she just blatantly asks him, so what did you really learn here? And Andor tells her, it's like she's just like honest. She's not gonna spy on her, spy on Andor to Mon. She's just gonna be cool with him. She's gonna be straight up, which I liked.
Yeah. That was really good. I like that a lot. She's phenomenal. She had such a good performance. Everybody has such a good performance in the show. Like there's no bad performance.
No bad performance at all.
Even watching Rogue One is like Forrest Whitaker does work in Rogue One, but like he just like fits like a glove in Andor.
Yeah, he's so again that speech that he had in episode 6 or 7 was just incredible.
Let it run wild.
Let it run wild. Revolution is not for the sane. So good.
I would also rewatch Rogue One. I was watching the scene that I always quote where I was like, "You come here to kill me." I always do like this handshake thing. He doesn't do that. He doesn't do that. I thought he did. He holds his hand still there, but I thought he was like, "How much of me left?" Like he doesn't do that. I have been convinced for the last 9 years that he did that.
Oh man, but now he does in our hearts. So yeah, Vel was so honest with him. The reminiscing about all they lost, Aldani, Cinta, everybody that came before them. It's just these two have done so much. It really elevates the scenes. I loved rewatching the show with you, man. Season 1, like watching the Aldani arc, watching everything that Vel and Andor went through in season 1 and how it impacts where they are now in season 2. This finale it does what finale should do. It poetically reminisces about everything that they went through in the past as characters, their journeys separately and together, and how it furthers them as people. It's not forgotten. It's just elevating their journeys in a very heartwarming way. We cut to we already talked about it, but the Nemec Manifesto. It's so great editing here with the Nemec Manifesto. It's like it's playing, and you're like, "Oh, this is incredible! I love this manifesto so much." But then it's like I think it's called diegetic sound, where it's like it plays for the audience, but then it's also playing for the character, and it turns out it's playing for Partycast. Where it's like, "Oh, this isn't just for the audience. This is actually playing for a Partycast." And we already talked about it again, but yeah, it's like this essence of freedom is just never going to disappear. This is playing on all the radios. It's top of the billboards.
Billboard top 100. Yeah. There were so many elements of scenes where I'm watching a scene and I'm like, "Fuck, this might be the last scene. Fuck, this might be the last scene."
Right? Yeah, I didn't want to pause it either. Yeah.
And then as soon as Nemec started speaking and they're kind of like moving through and like Vel's walking off, I'm like, "Oh, this is where you'll leave me." Best picture. I still would say it is, but like that would have been a hell of an ending as well. That said, I do love the choice that they had a Partycast listening to it as well and concluding his arc with things.
What a great poetic downfall for Partycast, listening to something that he tried to again kill and disappear, this essence of freedom. And I think they said like truth is the fear of oppression, something along those lines. Like power, if you have all the power, you have no right to fear anything. But the Empire is slowly losing power. So that's when they start to fear stuff. They fear the loss of control. And man, Nemec Manifesto, one of the greatest gifts to the Star Wars franchise in its entirety. Because it speaks to all eras of the franchise. Whether it's the Clone Wars, High Republic, the original trilogy, or even the sequel trilogy, the essence of truth, of freedom, of power, trying to oppress the masses, it's all there. It's all there. Thank you, Nemec.
It is the
Thank you,
ultimate.
Aldani.
It's the ultimate backing track to any montage you want to make from Star Wars.
Basically, big time. Let's see. So I wrote how like the loss of oppression is kind of like the final losing battle in this show. The oppression is just crumbling. Party Gas was great. Andor dreams of his sister. A little short glimpse of his sister. Loved that. Doesn't really go anywhere, but it doesn't need to. This is just it's showing us how Andor is always going to remember his sister. Will he ever find what happened to her? No, it doesn't matter. But it's always going to stick with him. And not only that, but his sister, the aspect of his past family, the love that he has for his sister, it exudes throughout the entire show. It just exemplifies how Andor is a loving character. We see that a lot throughout season 2, the way he loves Bix, the way he cares for people. He was fighting so hard against leaving Gorman because he knew what would happen and how the Gorman massacre really affected him. The love that he has for not just the people closest to him, but for all people. He is a savior. He wanted to save his sister. He is a savior. He is a messenger. And it kind of it really powerfully moves into this brilliant, quick montage as we get to the end here.
Yeah, man, absolutely. I love that inclusion because it really does mark the kickoff of his involvement in all this. From that day when because I'm pretty sure that was a Star Destroyer that came that day, wasn't it? And then those around.
Was it Star Destroyer or some? Yeah,
I think it was. And in that, his people who were living peacefully got attacked and
all died basically.
Yeah, at least
mining accident, quote.
Right. Yeah, all those levels. But yeah, just the fact of the matter of that being in connection, it does make the in this fight since I was 6 line a bit deeper as well. Because he really is still thinking about that to that day. It's not just like a distant memory.
Not at all. He'll never forget it. But yeah, this whole thing is very triumphant while also being very sad because we know he's gearing up for his final mission, final days of before Rogue One and A New Hope starts. It's funny, it goes into the whole there was a funny tweet today or yesterday where it was
the run-on sentence type of viewing.
No. Somebody tweeted out how one BBY will always be confusing to me. I thought the show would end about it would say 0 BBY, but it said 1. I'm like, that's always so confusing to me because Rogue One takes place in a matter of days, and A New Hope is a matter of days as well. A New Hope takes place in 2 days. So I'm just
somebody had it somebody had an idea. I think Jalen said this to me as well. The idea of marking it with just we're watching these events in December, and then Rogue One is the January turnover.
Yeah, it's a New Year's. Happy New Year's. The Death Star destroyed. Yay.
I literally compared the Death Star destruction to the fucking New Year's fireworks.
The ball dropping.
Yeah.
That's what it has to be, right? Because it makes no sense otherwise. Because Rogue One is a matter of I think 2 to 3 days is Rogue One. I can't remember.
It's funny that I don't think in universe they speak this increment of measurement, right?
No, not at all. Nah, yeah, they don't
it's
say
with us.
Hey guys, BBY. They're like, what BBY? I go, yeah, I guess that was yeah, because it's Americans counting down from the Revolutionary War. It's no, not really.
It's I think even a Acolyte was 200 years before the fall of the Jedi, and I was all right, cool. I guess it'd be complicated to be 214 BBY.
Yeah, right. People be like, what the hell? But yeah, so we get to a lot of different discussions or different scenes here. Perrin was Scoldin's wife. Wow. I did not know that was Scoldin's wife until I was watching the video here.
Wait, Scoldin
was the person that what's it called? Their daughter got married to, right?
Yes, yeah, you're right. Yeah, Mon's ex-husband.
Yeah. So that was kind of weird. Did that happen? He's
fine. He's arguably better than ever. He's carefree. Doesn't matter. Yeah. He's complacent and he's thriving in.
He looked miserable though. He looks he wasn't smart. He was just.
I think he was very content. He was just chill. new lady just pouring another drink. Like,
I got the sense that he was just like not depressed, but just like my life isn't happy anymore. He wasn't just like chilling.
I did not. I mean, if I were to break it down, just be like, oh yeah, this is the full extent of, you can walk away all you want. You're in the greatest fascist system. They'll replace you in an instant. Even if you're just like the everyday person living amongst it, they'll just be a new person to pop up. Doesn't matter. They won't miss you.
Yeah. But the funny one we get right next to it is Dedra on Narkina. As soon as I saw the uniform, I was like, this is amazing. This is incredible. This is so poetic. This is so perfect for her. Yes.
Yeah. I was like, oh, wow. It's so over for you, Dedra.
It's so over. She's not going to survive.
Even the actress was just like, that's it. There is no more to Dedra. Like, it was like, wow.
That's it.
No novelization breakout here. This is...
Yeah, I don't think it'll be necessary either. Like, you could do one before, like, before she joins the ISP. I guess that'd be kind of cool. But
I'd read a certain point of view.
I mean, I would read a certain point of view for sure. But what a just incredible character again. Every character in the show was amazing, but I'm gonna miss Dedra. She was such a evil character. But I love getting the short glimpses of her that we got this season about like when she's talking with Cyril's mom about how like she grew up without any parents. She grew up basically in an Imperial camp, and that's how she became so devoted to them. So many Imperials grew up in these like Imperial like schools and camps where they're just like sold a bill of goods about the Imperials, and then that became her life. And then she gets sold down the trash chute by the same group, by the Imperials. It's an endless dark cycle there. So then again, throughout this finale, we got shots of Clea in the rain, Clea waking up. But I just love seeing Clea and Vel, like you mentioned, Vel embracing Clea. You mentioned it already, but it's very sweet.
It's very sweet. I love seeing Vel and Mon together, especially during the montage when they're just like eating amongst everybody equally.
It's like your commander going in the battlefield with you. It's like you love seeing that like Mon is eating with them. She's not separated from them. She is one of the crew.
Yeah, I think Genevieve said in the Declassified, it's like it's very clear this is where Mon belongs.
Yeah, which is so sweet. I would have loved to see more of that, like more of those like scenes of her within the group. But
give me a Mon show.
I would love it. And then, of course, we see Cassian walking by the Force healer, which is very cool and powerful as well. Loved that.
Yes, I love that, and that's a year later, and he still is carrying that connection with her.
Yeah, he never forgot it. As much as he was so nervous and afraid and angry initially, we talked about it. He was angry because he knew that she was right. But it's hard to like really get deep into the inner truths of yourself. It feels like you're nervous about that kind of stuff, understandably so.
Yeah, that I love that so much, especially after, because before the season started, I was watching this video essay on Rogue One that was comparing the arcs of the characters to kind of like a journey of refining one's faith with the characters, which you could definitely see in a lot of them. I don't know about Bodhi, but there's a little bit there. But like everybody else, especially, Cheer had always had faith, but Bae's finding it, and Jin not believing in the stuff. But even her line at the end, like, you think anybody's listening? And Cass thinks somebody is.
Yeah, that hope that he never really had, but this season, the show was about Andor growing in hope and faith. It's powerful stuff. And then speaking of powerful, we end with we talked about the beginning of this episode, this whole podcast. Bix, we got B2 again.
Yeah, he has a friend, which thank God.
Thank God he's not alone. But he never did see Cassian again. Maybe he did. I don't know.
Or at least Bix is there.
Bix is there with child. Love that.
Evan, this is the record of me crying repeatedly, like in succession. I think like in 5 minutes I cried 3 times.
The Dedra scene really got you.
It did. I was like, oh no, she's
hot.
She's hot. I refrained, but you went there. But Bix, I was so elated that she made it, which I was like, I believe in my heart of hearts she's gonna make it, especially since I haven't seen her this whole episode. I think she's all right.
Yeah.
But yeah, she was there, so that got me emotional. The fact that she had Cassian's child made me emotional, and then the credits were rolling, and I was just thinking about it again. That got emotional.
I'm so happy they did this. Again, I was so worried that they wouldn't have this, but it really concludes Andor's living legacy, being that it Bix and his own son, outside of the legacy that he will always have for sharing the rebellion's plans, being that messenger for the greater purpose of, again, the future of the rebellion. Luke might have been the one to fire the shot in the Death Star, but it took Andor and everybody in the show to coalesce into a meaningful, powerful shot that Luke could even take. It's also purposeful and powerful.
Yeah, this is the epitome of bittersweet, because especially per hearing the description of the declassified, from the mindset of Bix in this time, is she is under the impression that yes, Cassian is fighting for the rebellion, he is out there, but she has faith that once he's finished, he's gonna come back to her here, and that they will have this future. But unfortunately, we know that's not the case. But then I think it was Diego Luna who was saying in this element that they've showcased so much loss and sacrifice with so many characters in the setting of this war that it's very clear that having something of what Bix has is so rare, and the ones that do have it are so lucky to have it. Like it really like reinforces like the amount of characters that lost their life and their livelihood to like not be able to have something like this. So they truly, any individual in this time that has this is so lucky to have it.
Extremely lucky. We talked about it's like it's so difficult to balance the love you have for people, the ability to grow a family with the rules and responsibilities of rebellion, and it's so beautiful that Biggs got this opportunity to be a mother with Cassian's son, while also it's so tragic at the same time because he can never be with Cassian again. It's so beautifully tragic.
It is. It is so tragic. It's so beautiful as well, and you know, I love the idea that Cassian is survived by a son, even a son that he doesn't know is out there. But he is survived by that. He would have been survived by Bix as well, but you know, the fact that like a piece of him lives on is beautiful. It really made heading into Rogue One a lot more palatable than just knowing that Cassian's walking, even, you know, as great as his sacrifice is, walking into it made it a lot more peaceful. And so I love that. Maybe, you know, I think Jason Syndulla is born at the same time. Maybe they could be friends.
Right.
Big story in Rebellion some more.
I would have I wouldn't mind seeing like a post. Like, people have been craving for it, like a New Republic kind of show in this vein, because the New Republic is so like empty in terms of politics. You know, it has become galvanized by like the Mandoverse storytelling. But like, I would love a, you know, like similar to Bloodlines, the Leia book, like put it a little bit closer to TFA than closer to Return of the Jedi, if you want. There's a 30-year gap there.
I love that I love that they introduced Mon and Ahsoka in like her council situation that she's sitting with. Is she Chancellor in that?
Sure. I don't know. I forget how it works.
I think I heard she is Chancellor to some degree of somewhere.
Yeah.
Which I was like, that's hell yeah. that's a great arc to continue from on.
But there's like 30 years of time span. There's so much storytelling that I would love to see the birth of the New Republic, the growth of the First Order, in a meaningful, interesting, intriguing way, kind of like what Andor did here, which is one of a kind.
Totally. It is so jarring to remember that Mon is in Return of the Jedi by a different actress.
Wild, yeah. Can't even comprehend it. But yeah, this was Andor. And this is you know, for my sake, Nathan, this is one of my new top 10 shows of all time. I think I can firmly say that now. You know,
Yeah.
in league with shows like, you know, my top 5. It always changes. Avatar: The Last Airbender's in there, but like Better Call Saul, like
Yeah.
when that ended, I'm like, oh, this is a masterpiece. Like Better Call Saul, Breaking Bad, Succession, The Americans, Leftovers. But yeah, Andor is definitely firmly in my top 10, top 15 now. It's just such a perfect Star Wars show and a perfect show or near perfect show in general. I love it so much for a multitude of different reasons. You can talk about any character for hours in this show and find something new to talk about. It's so great. It's everything I want from Star Wars, with its world building, its character work, its writing. It's so impactful and meaningful, emotional. While not being super dark, it has a lot of funny and very heartfelt moments as well.
Yeah, sometimes it is dark.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd have to echo everything you say, and I had always said, like, you know, in regarding my favorite Star Wars show, I had always contested that like my favorite journeys and stories within this world has always been like, you know, the mystic and the wizardry side of things.
Same.
Totally. I'm feeling such personal connections with not only the exploration of those types of beings in the universe, but, you know, especially ones we were familiar with. Like I think I had echoed like my favorite core story has been Obi-Wan for his journey. But like after finishing this, I did contest of like, yeah, with how involved not only like from a filmmaking standpoint and a writing standpoint, but just like all the performances, like everything coming together to create arcs that were so deep in their storytelling, so raw with their emotion, with their situations, with like very real troubles that are faced by us in the world. You know, as entertaining as it is, like we gotta take down the big planet destroying system, and, you know, a New Hope fun serial. Seeing something like this that is so powerful and unfortunately so much echoes the real world, both in history and present, it really does tee up my deep emotional connection to it, and therefore has become my favorite Star Wars show.
Agreed. And before this, if people were asking me what was my favorite Star Wars show before this, I would have easily said Rebels. Rebels, I think, is a great, complete series. But this is now above that for me. I think people ask me what are my top 10 Star Wars episodes of our time. I might just list 10 Andor episodes because it's just that good.
I think I would have actually, like, to that point, if like because I'm always like going off of what Disney Plus has, but like in terms of animation included, like I have of equal footing Andor for its raw reality and equal to it Rebels in its mystic story.
Yeah. The Obi-Wan episode of Rebels, the season 2 finale of Rebels, season 4 finale of Rebels, like those are also up there as well.
Yeah.
But yeah.
We're big fans of the Acolyte.
We love the Acolyte, episodes 4, 5, and 6, especially in the finale of the Acolyte.
Yeah, so save the Acolyte, link in the description. Just to speak really quick on the experience of watching Rogue One immediately after this.
Yeah, go ahead.
In regards to, I was especially focusing on Cassian's journey, and it really is so deep, like the different moments that he shares, whether it is his ruthless agency in taking out people, you know, under the orders of the rebellion, but like under the guidance he learned from Luthen, was really interesting. I like the initial meeting that he has Otivik, like when he has that panic to confirm that he's talking about Galen Erso.
Is it Galen Erso?
Yeah. Was it from the knowledge like this comes from Luthen, so like it would just validate Luthen even more.
Yes.
Yeah. So having that, the functionality of getting Jin in with Saw and, you know, working with Draven and Mon and Bale for this mission, running through it, his choice to, you know, that moment when like he's about to snipe Galen, but he ultimately doesn't. He has that feeling pass over him. Like, not that he's like super deeply connected to the Force, but like, you know, I think after his encounter with the Force healer in Andor does change something within him, and comparing that with like him completing his mission, Chirrut having a connection to the Force, saying that the Force moves darkly around somebody that's about to kill, and then having that moment when he's at the sniper, and then like you do get that set. I think it's in the sound design, like that dark force moving away from him, and he's able to like take a deep breath and realize what he's about to do, and he doesn't do it. And his defense on the ship, when like yes, he was about to do it, but like he's so deep in the fight because of like everything that he's lost, and you don't really know what that means when you first watched Rogue One 10 years ago, but knowing that like what he lost with his mother, with Brazo, Bix, and Luthen, everybody like along the way is so deeply impactful. And then when you're back at Yavin and Jin's trying to plead the case that he was trying to plead at the end of this arc, and to like a deeper degree, knowing that it is the Death Star itself, but they don't have the confirmation, they can't get it through.
Like less than a week ago.
Yeah, literally. And then
me on Monday.
And then it's Cassian himself who decides to round up all of the people who are willing to go with him to make that speech to Jin. Like, we've all sacrificed stuff for the rebellion, and we've all done horrible things in our lives, with these different places we've come from, but we all are here to fight for like what we believe in. And this, if there's any time to act, it's absolutely now. And just the faith of going in on that alone, like they're not even having the full rebel backup until later when they get the call that they're on Scarif, and then fighting through that, infiltrating, and even just speaking on like the experience of the Battle of Scarif, like really does just feel like the rolling effect. And again, like credit to Luthen for like setting such stuff in motion. Everything of Andor, the suspenseful buildup of not only unlocking the information about the Death Star, but like fully being aware of its creation. Whether it's like through the screws that were being built on Narkina, or Krennic's involvement and his obsession with getting it right and crushing anybody who's fucking it up for him along the way, and also his experience of trying to get the credit from Tarkin and trying to plead with Vader about it in Rogue One is also interesting. But like for the rebellion, getting the knowledge of it, and I had spoken to it during our Gorman Massacre arc. Seeing the intimacy of a species being terminated, and knowing that the Death Star is capable of doing that in the blink of an eye, and recharging almost like within a day span to do it again at will, is something so strong to fight for, to stop. And the fact that all of the rebellion, all that they have on Yavin, is all thrown in there to do their best, to the point where it's such a small group that they have left finally when they are able to get it to the actual like trench run. But it just really is impactful seeing it go from all of the course of everything in Andor through the chain of events from Galen's message to obtaining the plans transmitted from the surface, getting into the hands of Leia, even to like the final point. Like, as cool spectacle as the Vader scene is, my favorite part of that scene when I rewatch it isn't Vader just going off. It's seeing the rebels not only trying to push through the broken door, but like that last rebel who's just like, I don't care. You have to take this. Take it. I'm gone. Go. And just the catapult effect of just falling through door after door to launch away and get it to Leia, who then goes on her journey, sending it through R2, and then finding Luke, and just that whole story culminating in the effects. Everybody who's grown up with Star Wars is like, oh, Luke did it, he saved the day. But like, credit to Rogue One giving the chance to spotlight these people, was like, oh yeah, Rogue One, can't forget them. And then seeing Cassian's journey, it's like, my God, all these people involved were so impactful behind it. And I think that also is a strength now for watching Rogue One, is when you get to the end and all of Rogue One makes a sacrifice throughout it where none of them come out alive, and seeing something as deeply developed as Andor really puts into perspective that like all these people we're following are not like the big Luke Skywalker Jedi Destiny people. They are all of them equally just the same as all the soldiers on the beach that are getting gunned down. They are all of equal level of being able to be taken out at any moment, and they all equally, even the soldiers you don't know, have such a deep history connected with them that you don't know, and it is amazing to get that full perspective, and it makes all of the journey hit so much deeper.
Yeah, great thoughts, man. Completely agree. Like there's never, I mean, each character, whether we know them or not, has a purpose and a part to play. It all coalesces so beautifully. There's no forgotten character, and I think that's the beauty of Andor. There's no forgotten character. We might not have known who Andor was, but people like Andor, people like Luthen, who goes unsaid in Rogue One. He wasn't created yet, but like in universe now we know why they don't like him. But even regardless of that, like each character, whether they liked him or not, had a part to play in the growth and the everlasting, power of the legacy of the rebellion. And that's what's so beautiful about the Rogue One's ending. I'm with you, man. Like the Vader sequence is just not my thing, but like the power and the will to survive, to pass on that message, continues even past Andor, in a way that's so impactful and so intense.
Yeah,
I love it so much.
Yeah, it's absolutely beautiful. And last quick shout out to the score of Andor. They did a thing where they were moving from the traditional CD electronic vibes of the score for Andor, and in the last like arc or two, we're shifting it to a more bombastic, whimsical journey that Rogue One takes you through with Giacchino score to like fully like transverse the feeling from the gritty groundedness of Andor into the sprawling adventure that you're going to go on with Rogue One.
Nice catch. I didn't even recognize that. I knew they had a different composer too from season 1. Yeah, but yeah, that is Andor, a series that is never going to be forgotten. I think the epitome of great Star Wars storytelling.
I hope that it receives the love, and I hope it receives the love it deserves, and also the success it deserves. Not to say like they're gonna like go season 3, but like that hopefully this intakes to the creatives that we crave these deeply impactful stories, and as fun as Bando can be at times and things like that, keep making stuff like this.
Yeah. I think what's so beautiful about this is like that's a great point to end on, Nathan. Is that like we don't need every show to be like Andor, right? Like the Acolyte is nothing like Andor in terms of like it's like in-depth character stories and stuff like that. But like the Acolyte is such a Andor is such a passionate project from Gilroy and everybody that worked with him. That whole collaboration is so successful. And I think that's what I loved about The Acolyte. It was a purposeful dream from Leslie Headland, and it coalesced into a product that you can just tell off the screen is so loved by the characters, by the actors, and all working in it. And the writing showed that as well. Not to say that other projects I don't like are not like filled with passionate people, obviously, but I just mean just like for future Star Wars stories and creative when they go to Lucasfilm, have like this purposeful drive, have like this drive to create something that is so like meaningful, well written, takes its time, right? There's no need to rush this kind of stuff. I think is having an issue with other past projects. No rush, take your time, and give the episodes it deserves. This is one thing that I love, or that I think the Acolyte needed, just more time to tell this story that they wanted to convey. I think more episodes, more time would have been more beneficial to the Acolyte. Maybe its reception. But like Andor coming out with 12 episodes of like nearly an hour each, like that commitment needs to be seen across the board from other shows as well. And yeah, I think there was just such a great purposeful push from Gilroy and everybody involved to create something meaningful, and it exudes off the page here. So I hope I don't need every show to be like Andor. Hopefully Star Wars fans get that. Like the prequels are nothing like Andor, but they're great for what they are, right? Every story is great for what they are. And I want something different. I want something unique, but I want something at this quality though at the same time.
Absolutely.
So yeah, you guys can find me on Twitter, Harris EV9. We're talking all things Andor and other great TV. We are living in a plethora of riches for the TV golden age. So I'm having a great time talking Andor, Last of Us, and other great shows on the horizon.
Yeah, you can follow me at _TimeBlazer, making a show called Time Blazer with co-star and Craig Salt and Evan Harris.
Playing Ben. And yeah, if you guys are watching this, our last episode didn't, can't see the light of day right now. But we do talk Last of Us. We do talk other stuff. And now I'm nervous for next week because, Superman and the Ironheart trailers, what's going to happen?
I think we've explored those studios enough that I think we're good. But, I think for now, let's just hold off on Amazon stuff.
Okay, fair enough. Fuck you, Bezos.
Insane. Or I guess just vet that the official YouTubes have released these footages. Yeah.
That's ridiculous. But yeah.
With that being said, if you guys enjoyed this, make sure you like button, subscribe, and already ring the bell so you don't miss coverage on all things Star Wars. That being said, hope you have a great day. May the Force be with you always.